my god, hi, welcome back to the podcast. So today I have a super exciting episode and I honestly can't wait. This has been an episode that I've been thinking about for a while or the concept. I'll get into that later. But first, let's just start out with the best and worst of the week. So for the best of the week, I had two. The first one was that I got to talk to my sister multiple times this week. So if you didn't already know, she and my younger brother go to boarding school. So I don't get to see them a lot during the year. So it was really fun just FaceTiming her. And yeah, so that made my week. And I really like that because usually she's super busy and stressed out. So we don't get to talk that much. So it was fun just getting to chat with her. And then my second best of the week was figuring out how to play Just Dance using my laptop and phone. I've honestly kind of been obsessed with it. I just did last night the dance for Summer by Calvin Harris and then Die Young by Kesha. I was literally sweating so much. When I was younger, we had a Wii and we used to play Just Dance all the time, and I forgot how much I liked it, and it's just so fun. And I miss our Wii. My brother now has an Xbox, and he thinks he's the only one allowed to use it. So pretty much, he thinks he owns it, which is super annoying. But honestly, I don't think I would want to play Xbox. But it's nice to have the option, right? I wish Xbox had something like Just Dance. That'd be fun. Okay, for the worst of the week, it is that I'm worried about KYA. And since probably none of you live in Kentucky and don't know what KYA is, it pretty much stands for Kentucky Youth Assembly, I think. And it's like Y Club, so student government or whatever. And I had to be on a build team, and I honestly have no idea what's happening. And it's next Friday, and we have to do a practice session for it on Tuesday. And I haven't prepared anything, and I don't really understand, so that's stressing me out. And I also have to miss 2 days of school, which is super annoying because I'm in 3 APs, and it's a hard Spanish, and then my science class is hard. So I'm gonna have to make up a lot, and that's why I'm just recording this episode early. Because this episode I'm recording on October 30th, and I don't think it's coming out till November 9th or whatever. So I'm trying to get that done a little bit earlier just because I know over that weekend I'm not going to have time to record. Since on Thursday and Friday I'll be doing KYA stuff, and then over the weekend I'll be having to make up all my schoolwork and homework. So that's really unfortunate, and I'm not excited about that. But it's okay, because college applications. Yeah, cool. Okay, so my quote of the week is also from Rupi Kaur. I feel like I'm butchering her name so much, but no one told me I said it wrong last time, so I don't know, and I feel really bad. But yeah, same person who had the quote last week. I just really like what she says. It's poetic. Well, because they are poems, but Okay, so it is, I have what I have and I'm happy. I've lost what I've lost and I'm still happy. And she calls it outlook. So I think this is really important, especially for the topic of today's episode, which if you read the title, it's all about scoliosis. And yeah, so I think it's important to remember that your circumstances don't define you, and what you've lost doesn't determine how you need to feel. You can always make the best out of your situation. I feel like in my English class, we've talked about this a lot, where there are people who've had really bad things happen to them, and it just makes them appreciate the little moments more, and it just changes your outlook on life, on what is good and what is bad, and it makes you seem like maybe before you weren't taking enough time to appreciate the things that you already had. So I just really like this quote, and I thought it was important, And also important to remember that you are strong, you are amazing, and yeah. So, as I mentioned, this episode's all about scoliosis, and I do not have scoliosis. This is actually an anonymous listener story. Whoop whoop. So, this is not my story, and I'm just here to help with advice. I recently got an email about a week ago from a person who wants to remain anonymous, and I totally agree. They sent me an email with their story and then a few questions they had. So I'm just gonna read their story and answer their questions. And I hope this will be helpful for the person who sent in their story and for anyone else who might be able to relate, even if you don't have scoliosis. I think that this topic and what the person describes that they're going through, a lot of other people can relate, even if they don't necessarily have scoliosis or something like that. But I think you'll be able to relate. And if you know someone with scoliosis, maybe you could understand a little extra of what they're going through and try to help them out. So, before we get into it, don't forget to leave a review, subscribe, follow, do all the things. And yeah, I was going to do a little weekly overview, but I think I should just get right into the story because this really isn't an episode all about me. It's more about this person and their story. And I really want to put the focus on them. Even though this might be my podcast, it is for you. It's for all the listeners out there and all the girls who might be struggling or need someone to lean on or want someone to laugh with. I got you. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So this is me reading her story. So whenever I say I, it means the person. Okay. I was diagnosed with scoliosis about 4 weeks before I turned 13. I wasn't really upset since I didn't know what scoliosis was, and I continued to only have the vaguest idea of what it was because my parents never talked to me about it. Finally, a day after my 13th birthday, I went to my long-awaited appointment with a scoliosis doctor. He told me that I would need to wear a brace for 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 1 to 2 years. I still wasn't upset since I didn't know how horrible this brace would be. About a week later, I went with my mom to get fitted for my brace. It was so embarrassing. My mom sat there taking pictures of me and texting while I was getting 29 different measurements. I did get a pattern on my brace though, blue with butterflies. Butterflies are my favorite animal or insect. I don't know. But because they are delicate and beautiful, yet fierce and strong. Anyway, I was a little worried, but not too worried because, like I said, I knew basically nothing, and my parents didn't talk to me about it. 3 whole weeks later, I went in to get my brace. Words cannot describe how awful it was. He tightened the brace so I could hardly breathe, and I felt it moving my spine. Plus, I was off balance and had trouble walking, and this may come to no shock to you. My parents still hardly talk to me about it. Anyway, it was tough and still is. At first, I was so worried about anyone finding out about my brace that I would only ever wear it on top of my clothes when I slept. I made some huge steps though, wearing it on top when I went to stores and finally to my small group, church and youth group. It was almost time for my school orientation and I had a big decision to make. Wear the brace on top, showing who I really was, or hide it, and with it, me. Well, my parents made that choice for me by banning me from wearing the brace on top. They said, Tilly, Tilly just came over to come say hi. So, Tilly's coming to join in the story. Sorry I had to stop the middle of the story. Yeah, okay. Okay, La. Goodbye. Thank you. I don't know if I mentioned this, but my mom is out of town, so that means I have to watch the dog, and she's been very sad. And so I have to give her lots of attention. It was almost time for my school orientation, and I had a big decision to make. Wear the brace on top, showing who I really was, or hide it, and with it, me. Well, my parents made that choice for me by banning me from wearing the brace on top. They said that it was too tight on my chest, aka around my breasts. I was hurt, but didn't argue. Since then, it has been a full quarter of school, and I always feel ashamed of my scoliosis and my brace. Sometimes at school, I couldn't breathe and had to take the brace off, but was so embarrassed to have someone see it. Plus, I'm getting a lot of anxiety about spine surgery, which is what will happen if the brace doesn't work. I feel lonely all the time. My parents never talk to me about surgery, even when I bring it up. They always say it won't happen. Don't worry. How do you know that? Not even the doctors know. I guess they think that by avoiding the subject I will not be worried, but it has had the exact opposite effect. That's one of the reasons why I feel so alone. I need someone to talk to, someone who understands. But thanks to you and your podcast, I feel more confident and ready to show everyone who I am and wear my brace on top. I'm tired of hiding my true self. Wow, thank you so much for sending in the story and for being super vulnerable. And I really appreciate that. And I'm sorry that you've had to go through this. I can't imagine how difficult it would be. But let's just start out with some of the questions that you had for me, and we'll just go on from there. So the first question was, how do I tell my parents that I want to wear my brace on top? And what if they say no? So I would just say, just be honest and sit down with them, tell them the truth, and explain to them why it's important to you and how wearing the brace under your clothes makes you feel. And I think you just need to try to be mature about it. And the best thing to do is just to sit down with them, just you and your parents, and tell them, hey, I want to talk about this. I know we've been avoiding the topic, or you don't want to talk about it, but I need to. I haven't been feeling very great. It makes me feel lonely. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel not like myself. And this is what I want to do. And if they don't agree, then ask them why. Like, of course, they would have to have a reason. And I'm sure that if they say no, then they think their reason is valid. Maybe it's that they don't accept it or are ashamed or don't want you to get made fun of or embarrassed. And they most likely think that they have your best interests in mind. And I think it's always important to remember that your parents love you and are only doing what they think is best, even when it hurts you. And I think that's just important to really explain how their actions have been affecting you and how not being able to wear your brace on top of your clothes makes you feel. Because I think the best thing you can do with your parents and really in any relationship is just being honest and telling them the truth. And if you do all this just in one sitting and just go for it, then you don't have to talk about it all the time. You just need to get it out of the way. And even if you want to talk about it more, tell them that. Tell them this is what's happening to you. This has become your new normal, and they need to get used to it too. You're still trying to get used to it, but you're accepting it, and they need to do also. So the next question is, I have to wear a uniform since I go to private school. So how can I convince the principal and headmaster that I should be allowed to wear my brace on top? Well, first of all, again, you just need to go, maybe schedule a meeting with them and talk to them about it, and explain during this meeting that you understand the dress code, but there needs to be an exception. Because this is for a medical reason that you have to wear your brace, and it's not just that you want to break dress code to wear ripped jeans or a crop top or something. It's something that's important and it's for your health. And I think any principal or headmaster would understand that. And yeah, I just think it's important, again, just to sit down, chat, be mature. And also, relating to your brace, that's super cute that you have butterflies on your brace. And I really loved what you said about the butterflies. I'm going to read that section again. That when you said butterflies are your favorite because they are so delicate and beautiful, yet fierce and strong. And I think that's a really good representation of yourself going through this process, that while you might be young, that shows that you are delicate and you are beautiful. But going through this, it's made you fierce, it's made you strong, it's made you step out of your comfort zone. You can see as you were writing this that you started out feeling uncomfortable wearing your brace. Like you said, you only wanted to wear it while you slept, but now you want to go out and wear it to school, which is amazing. And it's just showing how strong you are and how much you have grown and how much you've begun to accept yourself and realize that you are beautiful and that you are amazing. And I think that's really cool and really wonderful. Okay, so the next question is, what should I do about my surgery anxiety? So I would definitely say that it's important to talk to someone, whether this be a therapist, a counselor, a trusted friend, etc. Whoever you trust, maybe an older sibling. It seemed from just what you sent in that maybe your parents might not be the best option, but of course you could talk to them also. But I just think it's important to get out how you're feeling, to explain how you're feeling. And if you don't feel comfortable enough talking with another person, you can, of course, journal. You can record voice memos if you just want to talk it out. But I definitely think that whenever I journal, it's super helpful. It helps clear my head, helps me figure out what exactly I want and what I'm looking for. And I definitely think that probably when you were writing this note to me and about your story, that it definitely helped. And it seems like you were able to open up. So I just suggest doing that with another person or writing it down, again, recording it, sharing. You can share your story. And I think it's important also to figure out why you're so anxious. And I understand that surgery can be very scary, and I'm not trying to make your anxiety seem less valid, because of course it is. Surgery is very scary. But I think it's important to realize, as what your doctor said, it's only if the brace doesn't work. And if you're wearing your brace, then you should be fine. But even if you do have to get surgery, it's important to remember that everything's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You have all your friends, you have your parents, if you have any pets, you have family members, and they're all going to be there for you, and they're all going to be sending you lots of love. And yeah. So I would also suggest that you find someone who can relate. This can be anyone on Instagram, YouTube, any other social media, or a friend. Maybe it's someone else who's had scoliosis, or maybe it's just someone who's easy to talk to and understands what it's like feeling like you can't show your true self to everybody and that you're hiding something and hiding part of your identity. Just talking to someone who can relate or someone who can understand is super helpful. And again, to all the other listeners who don't have scoliosis or aren't struggling with this, I think it's important to remember that during life, we all struggle with finding our true selves. And especially in high school, it's really hard to feel like you're being your authentic, true self and that you're not hiding a part of yourself. Because I think a lot of us do this unconsciously. And while your situation is more physical, that you're hiding your brace, I think your brace is a representation of part of your true self. That when you wear it under your clothes, you're hiding part of yourself. But when you wear it out and everyone can see, you're showing everyone your true self. And I'm sure everyone else will appreciate that. And I doubt anyone will hold it against you or think, oh my God, this girl is so weird, she has scoliosis. No, everyone, all your friends, they love you, they're going to support you, and I don't think there's anything to be worried about. I know this is super easy for me to say, don't worry, but I understand overthinking, anxiety. I struggle with that a lot, but I'm here, your friends are here. If you don't want to talk to anybody about it, you can journal. Just do whatever makes you feel good and what you're comfortable with. So the next question is kind of related, and it's, who can I talk to? Should I try to get my parents to listen? And again, I would suggest a therapist, a trusted friend, a counselor, a family member, a pet. I don't know. Sometimes I talk to my dog. As you heard her, she decided to interrupt the episode. She's now laying on my bed. She's super cute. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll see Tilly a lot on my stories. She is very needy, but we love her. But if you have a dog like Till, then you can talk to them. I mean, being with a dog is really comforting. And I would just suggest talking to anybody you trust. It can even be a random internet friend. I mean, you can meet random people on Instagram, wherever. I mean, when I was younger, I used to meet random people on like Animal Jam or Minecraft or something like that. I don't know. Just you can talk to anybody, and it's honestly about whoever you're comfortable talking with. And I feel like, at least from your writing, it seems like you've gotten to a point where you need to talk to someone about it. You need to talk about it. You need to share your story. And I think that's really good, and that you should be sharing your story. You should be comfortable and feel open about it, because this is a part of yourself and it's a part of your identity, and you don't need to hide that for anyone, whether it be people at school or your parents. And relating to the second question that you asked, how should I, or should I try to get my parents to listen? I would say, of course, yes, you can always try to get them to listen. And again, if they are so against you wearing your brace on the outside of your clothes, question them, ask them why, because they need to have a reason. And I'm sure they do have a reason, as I've said before. But again, I would just sit down and try to talk with them and explain to your parents how everything has been making you feel, how you feel like they are avoiding the subject, and that makes you sad and you feel lonely, and that you want to wear your brace on top, and that you feel like you're hiding part of yourself and you can't be your true authentic self. And I think they'd understand that. And even if you can't voice how you're feeling, you could try writing it down and handing it to them. But I always think verbal communication is the best. But if you're not ready for that, then you could even show them this note that you sent me, or you could write something similar and just explain how they've been making you feel unintentionally, and how you really feel that it's important to wear your brace on the outside of your clothes. So, the last question that the person asked was, do you think I'm making the right decision with my brace? And I say that I can't be the one who answers this question, and that whatever makes you happy is the right decision. And I think you shouldn't hide parts of yourself just to please your parents or just to make their egos happy. And if wearing your brace on the outside of your clothes makes you feel more like yourself, like your true, authentic, genuine self, then do it. And anyone who says something negative is just jealous that they just can't accept all parts of themselves like you can. And I think that's really special that you've been able to accept this part of yourself and been able to grow. And that's really amazing and super cool. And I think this question you need to ask yourself. I don't think it's a question that that anyone else can answer for you, because we don't know how you're feeling. And I think that if you truly feel in your gut that this is the right decision, then go for it, because I think you're the only one who knows whether or not this is a right decision. And of course, I can try to press my opinion on you, which I won't do. But just from your writing, it seems like you already know what the right decision is, and you know that you want to wear your brace on the outside of your clothes. And I think that would make you feel better. And of course, this might come with some struggles and it might make some things harder, but I think that it'll overall make you feel better, make you feel more like yourself. And I think that's super important and something you should value. And you should be able to share your brace, your butterfly brace, with the world, show everybody. And I don't know. I think that you already know what your right decision is, and you know what's best for you. And only you can decide that, not even your parents. They don't know exactly how you feel, obviously. And again, you need to make them listen. They need to understand so they can see your perspective, because for all you know, they could be thinking that you don't want people to know you have scoliosis. You don't want people to know that you have to wear a brace. And maybe they're just trying to protect you, and who knows how they're actually feeling. And that's a conversation you need to have with them, and a private conversation where you can just share how you're feeling and be super honest and vulnerable. And that's pretty scary. And I think a lot of us struggle with opening up to our parents and feeling like I know it's hard, because especially when your parents do something to hurt you, it isn't intentional, of course, because they love you so much, but it hurts more than a lot of other things, like a friend saying something. But when a parent says it, it really hits home and it really hurts. And I understand that, and I know how hard it can be talking and being vulnerable with your parent. And as I said, a lot of us struggle with this. I feel like most teens feel like they have to lie to make them seem like this perfect kid, like they're our parents' baby girl or whatever. But over time, we grow and we change, and we aren't their perfect child. I mean, we all have feelings, our feelings are valid, and we all struggle with things, whether it be scoliosis like this story, or just feeling like you can't be your true, authentic self. I mean, it's one and the same. And I think that's super important. And a really big message coming out of this story is that we all have parts of ourselves that we are still struggling to accept, and that we will slowly accept over time. And once we accept the things that might be more difficult or seem like we don't love and appreciate them, that things will become clearer. We'll be able to be more ourselves. And I think this is hard to realize in the moment, what you might be not accepting. But over time, it's all about self-love. I mean, you have to love yourself first before anyone else can truly love you. And I think that is, of course, so, so, so important, that you need to value and love yourself and accept all the parts of you, even if you don't like them. I mean, acceptance is not the same as saying, I like everything about me. I love my scoliosis, or I love my stretch marks, or whatever. I don't know. It's just that you accept them, and that you accept that they're there and that they're a part of you. And I think that's just the part of the journey of growing yourself and growing up as a teenager, is just learning to accept what you might see as flaws, but other people might see as beautiful. For example, I think your story that you shared is beautiful. How you phrased everything, it was beautiful. And your brace, it sounds beautiful. You sound beautiful. You sound like an amazing, wonderful person, and you deserve the world. And I think that this event and these circumstances right now are gonna affect you in the future. And I think it's really important. And I think that's really cool, because now that, or once you get through this and come out on the other side, you're going to be able to help other girls who have gone through this. You're going to be able to relate to them. Maybe you have a child who gets scoliosis, and you'll be able to relate and understand how wearing their brace on the outside might make them feel better, even if it might be scary at first. It might make them feel like they're jumping out of their comfort zone. And I just think that's really important. And I really loved this story. And I think it's important to remember that you are amazing, you are strong, you are beautiful, and you will get through this. And thank you so, so, so much for sending in your story and being so vulnerable with me and all the other listeners. I really appreciate this. And I honestly felt so honored when I received this email, and I was a little shocked too. I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that someone would feel so comfortable with me that they would be able to share this amazing story. And again, I appreciate that so much. And I hope this was helpful to you and to anyone else who might be listening, who might have scoliosis or might just be struggling with making a decision and feeling not quite like yourself. And again, this is something that we all struggle with and that we can all relate to. And I appreciate you all for listening. It means a lot. And if you also want to do something similar, you can send me an email with your story and maybe a few questions you have, and I would love to feature them on a future episode. My email is thegirlygirlpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll make sure to do the episode as soon as possible. I mean, sometimes I have a few lined up. Like when I received this email, I already had 2 episodes lined up, so that's why this one is going out on the 9th instead of earlier in October. But I just really appreciate this, and I really love being able to share a story that is so real and so raw and something that I know that other people can relate to. And I think it's important on the podcast to have things that real people are struggling with and not just things that, I might have struggled with over the week or that I know someone else has. But I really want this to be your podcast. This needs to be stuff that you're going through and stuff that you struggle with, because all I want to do is be able to help you all and make your lives a little bit easier and just help you out. And that's what I try to do in each and every episode of mine. And I hope that I'm able to accomplish that. And I know this episode was a bit more serious than some other episodes I've done. Of course, I think it's a fun and a good idea to have a mixture of serious and funny episodes, like for example. But yeah, episodes like this and the self-confidence one get really vulnerable and can sometimes be hard to record. And I think that that's always good, that to go through things that might be uncomfortable or things that might be difficult. And I'm just really grateful for you for letting me share this story and for everyone who has listened, even though this wasn't their story and maybe they couldn't relate all the way, but just gaining a new perspective and an understanding of what people your age have to go through. As teenagers, people tell us that the things we aren't going through don't really matter, or phrases like, it won't matter in 5 years, you shouldn't worry about it, whatever. But I think that things in the moment can seem much bigger than they are looking back on it, but that doesn't make them any less valid or any less important, because if something is big to you in the moment and seems so important and life-changing, then that's what it is. Even if looking back at it, you might not see it that way. And I think that's important for all of us to remember. And I feel like adults always tell us what we're going through. It doesn't matter. We're just teenagers. We don't know anything. But stories like these just show you people do go through things. And even though we are teenagers, what we go through is valid. What we go through is hard. We go through some hard stuff. No one seems to understand that, but I got you. I know my fellow girly girls got you. Yeah, thank you so much. I know I've kind of rambled on at the end, but don't forget to check out all the links in the description of this episode to find my blog, newsletter, email, Instagram, etc. And you can follow me on Instagram at the Girly Girl Podcast if you haven't already. I try to keep you updated with what's going on with me, with a bunch of stories. You get to see Tilly more often, and then I just post to remind you of episodes. I share some cute quotes, some midweek motivation, if you will. And again, send me an email if you need some advice, and I'll make sure to cover your story and help you out in one of my upcoming episodes. And you can also DM me, but email is probably better for that, just so, I don't know, it's easier. But you can also send in a voice memo if you want to feature your voice, which is kind of cool. But that you can only talk for a minute, so that might not be best. So again, just email me if you have a story you want to share, and maybe this episode gave you the confidence to open up, to share, and I hope that it did. And if not, then that's okay. We're all in different spots in our journey, and we're all still struggling. We're all still chugging along. And some people are farther along than we are, but that doesn't mean we're any less valid or that they're better than us. I mean, we're all great. We're all wonderful. We're all human beings. I'm a human being. What is that? Okay, sorry. That's like a random TikTok sound. Okay, but remember that you are strong and can get through anything. And you are a bad bee. And I love you. And again, I know I keep saying thank you, but thank you for listening, for sticking around, for letting me share this story. I mean, this was truly an amazing story. And I just want to go over the quote of the week one more time, just so you can lead your week with this quote and help it carry you along. I have what I have, and I'm happy. I've lost what I've lost, and I'm still happy. Again, super important quote. Carry this with you throughout your week, and just remember it when you're struggling and you have maybe some midweek blues. That remember that quote and remember this episode. And yeah, I'll be sending you lots of love this week, girlies, and kisses all around, hugs all around. Love you all. Bye.